Anonymous exists for one purpose: that all men and women may have their ideas weighed on the basis of merit. The ideas of an anonymous person, anon, is taken at face value, thus removing all prejudices that may arise as a result of titles, rank, nobility, beauty or wealth. This founding principle of the United States is epitomized by the anonymous collective. Historically, Anons disseminated their opinions primarily through literature. An example of this is the literary work known as the Federalist Papers. These essays were written by some of the most esteemed men in the American colonies, themselves possessing nearly all of the above titles, rank, beauty and wealth, yet they chose to conceal their identities for intentional purposes. In modern times, motion picture is now the central medium of communication. If video technology were available to the authors of the Federalist Papers, they would have used it and very likely would join with this modern-day anonymous collective. Videos incorporate the most effective elements of communication, since 60% of communication is non-verbal, involving body language, voice inflection and eye contact, elements that are mostly removed from pure literature. Liberal art productions such as poetry, theater, and music were often very effective mediums of transmission since they encompass many elements of nonverbal communication. These mediums required mass reproduction for their distribution, but are now recorded in a single sequence and distributed en masse via the internet. Naturally, human beings have adapted to this new avenue of mass communication as a powerful cost-effective platform for the exchange of ideas. By a person wearing a mask, their identity is concealed. This eliminates exactly what the mainstream media depends on for ratings, innuendos. When we examine media empirically, it cruxes upon the concept of sex sells. This 1870s promotional advertising scheme originated when a tobacco company used sexual entendres on its packaging. News media companies are publicly traded corporations. Every corporation's sole purpose is to generate profits for its shareholders. The fundamental economic idea underlying the launching of an IPO in free market economics is that most companies become better at what they do in this type of competitive structure. However, this is not the case in all industries, as can be observed in modern-day media. Instead of the competitive market focusing on digging up the most accurate news to attract its audience, it now depends on sensationalism and attractive news anchors. The background story which caused this emphasis on beauty is that in a certain city there were two weather anchors. One was an extremely attractive lady and the other was a less attractive lady. With these two choices, most consumers watched the station with the more attractive anchor. In turn, this outcome set precedent for all news media ever after. The American economy depends on a mixed system of government intervention and free market competition. When a market breaks down, it is no longer accomplishing its purpose and requires government intervention. Government intervention is cognitive intentional decision-making to override the free market outcomes, thus correcting the undesired result. Moreover, as in any corporation, the majority shareholder has the most say over the outcomes of the firm itself. Thus, if a 51% majority is owned by a single entity, that person or group can effectively control the content of 100% of the company. Within the anonymous collective, we make an intentional effort to correct many of these failing markets since they distort or, more often, destroy the truth. These industries include academia, news, and liberal arts. Our most powerful tool is videos, wherein we conceal our real voices. Studies have shown that a black man can be correctly identified more than 80% of the time just by audio. Moreover, women's voices can trigger chemical responses that often persuade men to react in ways they wouldn't normally, absent the tone of voice in the sender. By using a computer voice that takes texts and converts it to audible speech, we eliminate the potential for these prejudices. News anchors are often attractive female or males whose appearance can sway the logical evaluation of fact by the viewer. Their appearance and nonverbal communication, such as body language intensity or facial expression, serves to emphasize topics that they may deem important but are objectively unimportant. These juicy stories probably involve celebrity gossip and have no practical application to any American. By Anons concealing their bodies and faces, it renders these cues irrelevant. Hand gestures are all we utilize to this effect. We use hand gestures as a means of engaging the viewer's eyes so they stay attentive to the message. If we did not do so, it would conflict with the normal expectations of the mind and cause the viewer to move on. Many people depend on their status or resume to provide more credence to their information than the merit of the information itself. Yet, within the anonymous collective, we intentionally do not share our life's accomplishments, as the efforts of those accomplishments should be apparent within the content itself. Thus, an Anon may have, or may not have, a bachelor's degree, PhD, MBA, or be a practicing attorney, but in anonymity none of the above should have any influence over the opinions of the viewer to an anonymous video. The information is taken at face value, indifferent to race, creed, religion, or any other factors but the content itself. The true purpose for the creation of Anonymous can be found at the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., as pictured at the top of this page. Thomas Jefferson's quote is etched on the wall, with one particular excerpt stating, quote, "All men shall be free to profess and by argument, maintain, their opinions in matters of religion," end quote. Within the anonymous collective, we understand that of first importance to our humanity is our faith. In the anonymous platform that I have described in detail above, all persons have an equal playing field. It does not matter if you are a Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jew, or any other religion that I have not mentioned. It does not matter if you are a woman or a man, if you are black, white, red, or yellow. It does not matter if you did not complete high school or went to college, or if you went to a private school or speak 50 languages. It does not matter if you are the Pope, or a street preacher. It does not matter if you are from the lowest caste, or you are the highest ranking official in your country. Everyone is anonymous. Anyone who can write what they think, download a text-to-speech application, and upload it to the internet, can be anonymous and join the dialogue of truth. But what is the purpose, you may be asking? Simple, the purpose is liberalism. Liberalism means letting the works speak for themselves. In our format, this is exactly what we have achieved. If you don't like what you are hearing or seeing, you can turn it off and not share it. This results in a video not getting many views. But if you do like it, we believe you will share it, and it will lead millions or billions to viewing just one message that can change the world. This is pure liberalism. Anons are purist in this fashion, and we believe that all humans have a responsibility to share the truth. There is one extremely important concept to remember from the above photo. It is that all men shall by argument maintain their position. This refers to the rational application of truth. Once a clear victor emerges between two arguments, they may maintain their position and thus settle the matter. Once a matter is settled, it is settled, and there it will remain settled. It does not mean that the argument will continue in perpetuity. The people who decide the victor of an argument are responsible for quelling any foolishness that may arise after the fact. This is the practical application of debate. It is a concept based on objectivism and is opposed to subjectivism. In subjectivism, we see the emergence of existentialism, which begins and ends within the person and is only dependent upon the perception of the individual. In objectivism, we see that it begins with the individual and ends with the community. Meaning, when an individual announces their idea to the community and offers their reasoning behind it, the community will then concur, deny, or be left in limbo requiring more edification. In subjectivism, the individual may or may not choose to share their idea with the community. Upon the community's concurrence or denial, the individual will disregard any refutations that may arise and disassociate themselves with all contestants. The existentialist chooses denial and ignorance, rather than the rational application of debate. In effect, when a programmer writes a good code without any logical errors, the program produces a useful output and stops running. In existentialism, a programmer is writing a bad code with a logic error which results in an infinite loop. This is where the program continues executing in perpetuity but never produces any useful information. While it is the case that in an infinite loop the computer maxes out its computational capacity and usually begins to overheat with the fans kicking on to max, the entirety of the endeavor is useless.